Okay. Hey, everybody. So let's get started. I have a great subject that I want to talk to you tonight about. And it's about a little bit about fun. So if you're joining me tonight, do me a favor when you jump in, go in the chat bar and say, what's up? Let me move my phone so I can see which one of you are joining. So I labeled this tonight, do or do not. There is no try. How to identify adventure. How to identify adventure. So let me give you a little bit of the problem that is going on today is people are living so much for the material things. You cannot take away the, like, people are missing the experiences, right? The experiences for material things. So they end up living for houses and cars. They end up living for a lot of things that you can't take with you. So they die with a bunch of stuff, but then all of a sudden they have lack of experiences. So that's become a big problem. And one of the things that my instructor taught me many years ago, he said, like, the thing about material things is you either own them or they own you. Let me say that one more time, because that changed my life a long time ago when I thought of that. Like, material things, either you own them or they own you. Now, one of the great things is if you create experiences in everyday life, like, every day is an experience. You know that. Every minute's an experience. Now, it's an experience you want or it's an experience that you don't want. So I built a little model that I wanted to share with you guys. Let me share my screen here. And let me draw this out for you right here. Okay. All right. I'm going to draw this model out for you guys. I think you're going to find it real rewarding. And make sure if you're in the chat bar, right, you're following me, do me a favor, hit share. Can you hit share on this thing and share it with somebody else? That would be really, really cool. This way we could let everybody get this. And also, if you could see my diagram, do me a favor and say, I see it. This way I know that you're following me. So if we look at this timeline here, and we look at this as the timeline of experiences, right? This is your timeline of experiences. And probably if we cut it out, like, there's a whole bunch of good experience. Maybe there's like some semi-experience, and maybe there's some experiences that you don't want if we were to get fancy for this. And if we put on here, these are experiences you don't want, right? And these are experiences you want, right? And somewhere along this line, you probably have a whole bunch of these things here, right? Now, a lot of times the experience you don't want is pain, and the experiences you do want is pleasure. And a lot of times with the pleasure that you have on these experiences that you do want, you also have growth, right? You have growth. Now, the problem with the experiences over here that you don't want is what happens there is with the pain, you normally have a sense of suffering, and these things hold you back, right? These things hold you back because when you're suffering, you suffer in your mind, you suffer in your body, you suffer in your spirit. We talked about that the other day. Now, these things are holding you back. So first, can we maybe adopt the consideration here that all things are some form of an experience? Is that cool? If it is, type in cool, so I know that you're following me here. I mean, all things are a form of an experience. So we have a choice here. Since we know that throughout life, we're going to have a bunch of experiences that we want, a bunch of experiences we don't want. What if we redefine it? And what we do is we make even the experiences we don't want. Are you following me here? Even the experiences we don't want, what about we turn those experiences into growth? We turn them into growth. So now, instead of hating the experience, we could actually grow from the experience. Now, what does this mean? Like, if you look at a lot of people, they kind of have this, what they call bucket list, right? And I was never thrilled about the bucket list term, because what it does is it puts a timeline of pressure under you, because most people say, this is what I want to do before I die, right? So they call it the bucket list, before you kick the bucket. But what about if we also do this? Why don't we just make it the experience list? That'd be kind of cool, right? So with the experience list here, we're not hitting this with, that we have to do things before we die. And actually, an experience list is so much better, because we know that we just want to live this life of experience. So I have one more thing for you here, and this applies, and I'm going to give you some ways to narrow it down. What about that we call it this, an experience life? How about that? Why don't we just call it an experience life here? So that every minute of every day, you're just creating an experience. And when you have one that you're enjoying and you're feeling growth, you embrace it. When you have one that you're not enjoying, you embrace it and turn it immediately into growth. Now, how do you kind of look at experiences so you don't get out of balance? Because one of the things that always freaked me out is people that go on vacation and then they say ridiculous thing. They go, I need a vacation from my vacation. I don't know about you. Like, does that bother you at all when people say that? Like, they go on a trip, they spend a ton of money, they go to Disney, and they come back, they're like, I need a vacation from my vacation. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, that seems like you're deflating the whole thing that you created, and it looks like you might have lost time. So here's what I like to do is, if you want to look at experiences, I think when we create experiences, we want to create an experience list. But now the brain doesn't know what to do with that. The brain's like, whoa, like experience list, there's a lot of things to do with it. How do I nail it down? Well, how about this? How about if we had an experience list for health? Would that be cool if you made some experiences there? Like, what could be a health experience list? Maybe a massage, or going to a spa, or maybe some kind of cleanse, or eating some kind of specialty food. Like, those could be a health experience. So that could be one of your brackets that you could just create experience, right? And then what about if we just do a fun thing? Like, fun, maybe that could have your hobby. Like, I do martial arts and tattoos. Maybe that could be part of my fun list that I do. I go, well, what would I want to do? Maybe go train with somebody special. And then it's possibly that you could even have a home experience list. Like, what would I want to create as an experience in my home, or maybe near my home? Like, for us, it seems like every time we walk to the beach, or we're walking, not every time, but we've had one dog kind of had to stare down, another dog had to grab a leash while it's running to attack Ginger. Like, now these may not have been experiences I asked for, but they were experiences that we turned into growth. Now, another one might be like a friend's experience. So you now start to think about, hey, what kind of friends do I have? And maybe I should go do something with that. Like, I went throughout the years, myself and Rob and my son and Ernie Zadati, we went for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days. We did it a couple times, and that was friends included. And we went combat training with Hank and stuff. So you have that type of experience that you have, right? Then maybe you have a partner experience, right? So now this is an experience that you do with your partner or your husband or your wife. You see, when you start to bracket it into things about experiences, you're not sitting there just pondering on the one or two. You're actually rotating it through. So you have this very well balanced experiences that you're going through, right? Maybe another one is just a learning experience. Maybe you want to learn something fun, or maybe a spiritual experience. We used to go there's a close place you could go and check out in New Jersey, in Kingston, I think it is. Is that Kingston there? Maybe my wife could type it in if she's listening. And there's like this 30-foot tall Buddha statue. It's an experience just to go there. And if you go there and the monks are there, you can say, hey, can I get a prayer bracelet? And they kind of do a little chant. They tie this little bracelet on you. And it's a nice little experience that you could do there. Or maybe a spiritual experience is, we used to go to Woodstock. We haven't been there. Jen, we should go take a ride there. We haven't been there a long time. There's a big Buddhist temple there and a Zen monastery there. You could go there. That's an experience. Now, you could also have a wealth experience. I know some of you are like, tell me about that one, right? Maybe the wealth experience that you have is you're going to a place to maybe learn on how to get wealth. Or I went to the stock market in New York City, the stock exchange, and we went in there where they were doing all that. That was like a wealth experience. Let me give you a couple more because I want you to have a list. Maybe there's a career experience. And this experience, maybe for whatever you do with your career, you're finding something that applies to that. So the whole thing is, make let's put this as a category list. And then from there, break this category list into columns. And then what you can do is, now you can start talking to your partner or yourself, and you go, hey, what do you want to do for wealth or for friends? Is this value for you guys? Type in value if this is value. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to start to live with a greater smile, because you're going to notice all these experiences. And when you get together with your friends and your family, you're going to tell the stories about this. I mean, I have stories from everything from jobs to trips to Australia, to trips to Hawaii. And it's always interesting. Your kids always remember the craziest parts of the trip, right? They remember the situation on the airplane. They remember when in Hawaii, we decided to stay overnight at this hotel because it was a far drive back, and there was like, they put these sheet protectors on that were like plastic. Like, we had to open the refrigerator and put a fan to try to get cool air. Like, all those things is what the kids experience. So what you could do is also know around experience, it's the same rule as it always is: fail to plan, plan to fail on your experiences. And most people just blanket guess, right? They're just like, oh, I'm going to just go do this now. And they don't try to look at and make it very, very impactful for themselves. So my question for you is, what are you going to do now? Let me give you some action items, because one of the things I want to make sure, remember, an experience could be as much as sending something to somebody or creating an environment in your house. It could be flowers. It could be anything. Just ask yourself. And I'll give you something that I worked really hard on. And this is a great, not only am I teaching you, I'm reminding myself about this, right? Is making sure that you plan as many experiences in your life as possible, because the material things are going to stay behind. The experiences, when your last days come, you're going to be thinking about that. You're not going to think about the car. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a good car and a nice house. I'm saying don't have those things at the sacrifice of the fun experiences that you could have. So here's your action plans for you. 1, map out your categories, right? Map out your categories. Number 2, make a list of experiences. under those categories. And then I wrote a little note here, like, I don't even know if I'm spelling it right, like, but get like jiggy with it a little bit. You know what that means? Like, have a little fun with what you're gonna do with it. I mean, I have a blast when my wife and I walk. We're always walking down here and taking the dog for a walk and going to the beach. Like, it's very rarely that we're not laughing, smiling, thinking. Like, every walk is an incredible experience, let alone that we're together is just great experience there. And then the other thing is, like, ask yourself, like, what could you include, others in that? Like, how do you include? We did something on New Year's Eve where we do these little medicine card things, and we pick them for all different months of the year. And the experience was my daughter and her friend zoomed in, and we all did it together, and we were each picking a card and then sharing which card we picked, and it made this great little experience here. And then my son sometimes, even the fact of just being on Zoom on video call before, and him sharing the food that he was making, this sausage soup thing with his girlfriend Rosie, like, that was a little mini experience because I was involved in, I was like sharing that experience with him of cooking. Sometimes we overlook the little experiences. Even some nights when my son's doing his thing, he's out there driving at 10:30 at night, he calls me, he's like, oh, I was just sitting in this parking lot and I'm looking at this weird guy, and I'm like, we're living this experience together. So I hope that this video starts to really make you think not only about life a little bit different, maybe about fun a little different. And I know that there seems to be a lot of kind of maybe rules and regulations or worries about things. But if you really look at it, right, between what you could do on virtual and do in open areas, you could find something that makes you feel comfortable and still enjoy an experience, right? Don't let what's happening in the world shut you down from getting creative to experience these things. So I hope this is eye-opening for you. I'm looking forward to looking at all your experiences on Facebook. Always do me a favor, like, send it to me, private message me something. I had someone the other day was sending me videos of Chuck was sending me videos of like a moose on a mountain, and like, I want to experience. That's probably a good point before we go here. Like, when you share your experience, share it so others can enjoy it. And when someone shares their experience with you, don't, what do they call it? Like poo-poo platter? Like, don't shit on their experience, right? I remember years ago, you just watch people, they're like sharing this great experience, and then someone goes like this, oh, really? Oh, well, I drove this type of car. And it's like, oh, you win. Let me bow to you. Like, when somebody shares something with you, and I think this has been like an environment thing or a train thing where people look for the negative in something instead of the greatness of it. So when someone says on Facebook, like, oh, I just went to this place, like, go, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, what did you enjoy most? Instead of going, oh, did you try going here? The world it seems like people are always looking for the like how to either up you one or knock you down. And that doesn't make any fun for anybody. So when somebody shares something, why don't you like congratulate them a little bit or get a little curious about it? Because if everybody's curious, and just imagine, it would be a lot better of a world that way. So I hope this is a lot of value. Make sure you share experiences. If you could do me a favor, share these videos. We do have the Food Dog Facebook group, and we have some cool, really, really cool stuff coming up. It's a game changer for people. We're excited about it. Food Dog and all of us at Food Dog are going to be helping change humanity. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Let me, here, I'll just give you this. Okay, little smile face on the way out here. I appreciate all of you. Happy New Year again. And let's just make it an incredible week. Boom.